All right, guys, so this will be the second time that I've talked about an NBA athlete today because we got to talk about Mr. Dwyane Wade, who recently made some interesting comments speaking out against the GOP women's sports integrity bills, right, that basically protect women's sports in the sense that it bans biological boys from competing against biological girls in sports. Now, this is interesting because Dwyane Wade, somebody I've talked about on my channel before, has a biological son who wants to be a girl. Allegedly. And the reason why I'm saying allegedly is because his biological son who wants to be a girl is actually dating a biological girl who wants to be a boy. So again, clearly, his son is not gay, right? And I don't think that his son has transitioned yet. So again, I think that there is more confusion going on with his son than anything. Okay, I think his son is being led in a certain direction by Dwyane Wade's wife, and I think Dwyane Wade, being the simp that he is, or the apparent simp that he is, has let his son go down this path that has been pushed on him by, again, his wife and her friends. Okay, so again, Dwyane Wade, in my opinion, has failed as a father on this because it is clear and obvious that his son, at the very least, likes women, right? That he likes biological girls. So I don't really think that he's actually transgender, but hey, you know, this is what they're pushing on kids nowadays. So if you even display any feminine characteristics at all, they're gonna automatically say that you're trans, okay? Even though, again, boy clearly likes biological girls. Anyways, I digress on that. So Dwyane Wade, again, gave his opinion on these bills that the GOP are passing to protect women's sports, in which he claims that if lawmakers don't have transgender kids, then they should not be making laws about this stuff.
I mean, just overnight, Louisiana enacted an anti-trans sports ban. It's not the first state to do so. The governor there called it discriminatory, distressing. And I wonder what your reaction is and your message to lawmakers in states where these bans are happening. You know, you guys are going through this in your own family, and yeah. I wonder what you think.
Yeah, to me, it's a joke. I mean, this is our life. We live this. And so when you're out there making rules, and if you're not experiencing this, if you're not living this, and you're just out there signing away and making laws, that's not right. That's a joke. Like, come and live a day in my world with my daughter. Come and see how it is to walk through this world as her, right? Like I just think like we losing our humane, like we losing the human side of us. And it's as sad as it is, as blessed as my daughter is to have parents who can support her, I'm still afraid every moment she leaves our house. And not just because of gun violence, but because of the way that people perceive her in this world, right? But the way that, you know, the people who's out there making decisions have now tried to, like, I'm like, we ain't got enough time for me to go into it. I really don't.
We got time.
Like, I really don't, it doesn't make sense to me, right? It's like everything that, like, we're in this stage and we're in this world right now where it's like, hey, we get information, we're learning information, social media, like we can find everything we want to know about life, right? It's like our kids can go find all these things, but then it's like, hey, don't talk about this in school, don't do this in school, don't do this. Why are we not talking about it? Why are we not educating our kids? Why are we not educating ourselves instead of trying to close the book on it? You can't close the book on what somebody want and how they feel they are. We're not going to close the book on anyone being gay, bisexual, transgender. We can't close the book on that. And that's like, I just don't understand. I personally don't understand, Poppy.
Yeah, so Dwyane Wade there just made a whole lot of silly arguments, right, based off emotion and no logic whatsoever, right? First of all, he says that it's a joke that these bills are being passed and that lawmakers who aren't living the experience of having transgender children, they shouldn't just be out here signing people's rights away, okay? And I love how the left frames this conversation as if people trying to take away the right of transgender people to participate in sports. That's not what's happened at all, right? The only thing we're saying is that we just don't want biological boys competing against biological girls in sports, particularly contact sports, okay? Sports that require some type of athletic capabilities. in order to, perform, right? That's what we're saying. I have no problems with biological boys competing against biological girls in, I don't know, things like chess, right? I feel like that's fine. But again, this guy and what he's saying here, let's say that we accept his argument. Okay, fine. Because he also brought up gun violence. If what he's saying is true, that if you don't have any experience with this, then you shouldn't be making laws about it, great. Democrats shouldn't be making laws about guns, right? If we applied that logic there, then that would disqualify probably 90% of the Democrats in Congress from making any laws about guns, right? Because a lot of them don't own guns, and they also don't have any basic knowledge about guns, okay? And that's the real reason why, in my opinion, they really shouldn't be making laws about it, because they don't have basic knowledge. But again, in order to obtain basic knowledge, you don't necessarily need to own a gun to have basic knowledge, right? They just don't even have basic knowledge, but they want to legislate on stuff that they have literally no clue what they're talking about. That's my issue with the Democrats on that, right? So if you want to go there, Dwyane Wade, we can go there, right? But I'm sure he would not apply that same logic in that situation, because you don't necessarily need to have experience. You don't need to have a transgender child to understand that biological boys have an unfair advantage in sports versus biological girls. You don't need to have a transgender child to understand that, right? Again, just like you don't necessarily need to have a gun or to own a gun in order to understand how guns work. Now, preferably, you own a gun, or if you shot a gun or whatever to understand, but you don't necessarily have to own one, right? So with that being said, I'm pretty sure that Dwyane Wade probably would not feel like it would be fair if he competed in the WNBA, right? Because according to his argument, if he wanted to compete in the WNBA, he should be able to do so. And he knows just as well as the rest of the world knows that if he competed in the WNBA, that it would be unfair, right? That whatever team he's on, he could go to the worst team in the WNBA right now, even retire, a few years retired. He could go to the worst team in the WNBA and lead them to a championship just because they put him on the team, right? That's how unfair it would be, right? If anybody ever watched girls play basketball against boys, even a high school boys basketball team, like a good one, could probably easily beat some of the top college girls basketball teams. I actually believe that there was a story at UNC. I remember this story when I was at UNC Chapel Hill about how some boys doing a pickup game in the rec center beat one of the girls basketball teams, like the actual girls basketball team for UNC in a pickup game, right? And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, there's no competition between boys and girls when it comes to some of these sports. I mean, the difference in athletic capabilities is just too much. It's just too much to overcome, right? There's no way. Guys are too big, they're too strong, they're too fast for women to handle in contact sports. That's just a fact, right? Especially when you're talking about dudes that are actually really, really good at the sport. They're just not good enough to actually be, top 1% compared to, the elite, right? Again, it's no competition at all. And I'm pretty sure this would apply with somebody like Dwyane Wade's biological son, Zion, whom has Dwyane Wade's genetics, right? He probably has elite 1% genetics when it comes to athletics, okay? So I'm pretty sure if Zion decided to get on the basketball court and play against girls as a transgender girl, I'm pretty sure that he would dominate. He would absolutely dominate. It wouldn't be fair. It would not be fair at all. And then he goes on to make another silly argument, right, that, again, is not grounded in any real logic, in which he says, well, kids are exposed to all types of stuff on social media. So why is it that we can't have conversations about this stuff in school if kids are exposed to it on social media? They're going to be exposed to it anyways. We might as well just talk about it in school. He's basically referencing the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, or the Parental Rights and Education Act in Florida, that prohibits teachers from talking with kids about gender and sexual ideology, right? And I would say, okay, well, again, if you want to apply that logic, then why not just talk about, I don't know, adult films? You guys know what I'm talking about. Why don't you just talk about that in class? Let's just talk to kids about adult films and and all that type of stuff because they're exposed to that on the internet, right? You think that that's what we should be able to talk about? So anything that you can get exposed to on social media, you should be talking about in class. It's appropriate because kids are exposed to it. But, you know, hey, now that I think about it, Dwyane Wade might agree. He might think it's appropriate to talk about, I don't know, adult films and stuff like that with children in class, considering the stuff that he's into, right? Considering the fact that, you know, he's letting his biological son who wants to be a girl post pictures of him kissing his biological girlfriend that wants to be a boy. Okay, so who knows? He might be into that stuff. He might be into kids talking about that. Who knows? But reasonable people would agree that that's not appropriate to be, you know, discussing in class with children. Again, these people don't think when they're talking, right? They don't actually think through their positions and their reasoning and their logic when they're speaking on these issues. Because again, it's not coming from a place of logic, it's coming from a place of emotions. And in my opinion, that is what has led somebody like Dwyane Wade, who should be a strong man, a strong father, okay, that has led him to fold to the whims of his wife and his biological son, who believes that they want to be a girl. And instead of growing a backbone and standing up against that and say, hey, you know what, this is not right. We don't believe that this is who you are. You need to wait till you're 18, right? Instead of that, he goes along with it. You know, he wears a dress, right? He puts on a dress himself to come out and show that I support this. Okay, which, hey, you know, that's him and his family. He can do what he want to do. But don't sit here and try to tell me that just because I don't have a transgender, you know, kid or whatever, that I can't speak on this issue, or that politicians can't make laws about this stuff just because they don't have transgender kids. Right? I'm just saying. Because, again, if you want to apply that logic, next time you ask a question about politics, you should answer it, right? Because you're a basketball player. You should just stick to sports. Stick to what you know. Stick to what you have experience in. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about any political subjects whatsoever, because you're not a politician. You're a former basketball player. You don't know anything about it. You don't have any experience with it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.